For more on the crypto rally and the next catalyst for further upside, in studio we've got Andy Baer. He is the managing director of CoinDesk Indices. Andy, it's great to have you here. So, okay, holding on to 83,000 levels, how likely is six figures by year end?
This is the last piece of the puzzle for Bitcoin in particular, right? Getting the ETFs launched, and now they probably have close to about 80 billion, 75, 80 billion dollars of AUM in the ETFs. Then getting the Fed, the easing cycle begun. That began on September 18th, and we were out saying that's a great start, right? We like forward real interest rates being lower. That helps support the Bitcoin price. Then regulatory was the third thing to fall, and the election just made that very clear that there's going to be both regulatory reform, hopefully some positive legislation, which helps the whole industry. So for Bitcoin in particular, really, it's all lights are green right now.
And do you think the market's being a little bit too optimistic just in terms of what they're pricing in on the regulatory front versus what maybe be more realistic outcome?
Yeah, I think, the thing that we always have to remember about Bitcoin is those 5%ers, right? The people who spend 5% of their investment time thinking about Bitcoin. That's much less than me, and maybe the rest of the viewers are in that category. Many of them just really haven't engaged yet. So I think part of the upward pressure is that adoption will continue. It'll be Bitcoin, of course, is a bigger breadth story, but that's one thing that other assets maybe that have capped momentum don't have. There's so much momentum possibility based on just the sheer fact that adoption is still at an early stage, and also that the president mentions Bitcoin a lot, right? The president-elect mentions Bitcoin. The current president doesn't mention Bitcoin a lot. Just that kind of repeating kind of chorus of this is something interesting, I think will bring a lot of new people in, and we have a long way to go with a limited supply of Bitcoin.
So talking about Andy just bringing a lot of new people in, I guess here we are today, if we sit here a year from now, 2 years from now, what does that then look like, and what does the conversation sound like?
Sure, I think for the first thing, and I hope many investors kind of sort of adopt this mentality, Bitcoin is its own thing, right? It is a macro asset, it's a store of value. It really doesn't do much but move from one address to the other, but it has a scarce supply, and it has very good security and a 15-year network. So think of it as this singular asset. The growth in smart contract platforms, in things that will change the way we live, similarly to how the internet did and how mobile phones did, that really hasn't had much sunlight, right? I liked that 10-year chart of MicroStrategy because you showed 1999. 2021 was crypto's 1999, right? That first kind of overshoot of enthusiasm that got toppled like tech stocks did in 99. Now we feel like, well, crypto moves a lot faster. We didn't need 10, 15 years to come back, just a couple of years. The rest of the tokens, and you've seen them in the price action over the last week, the breadth has been incredible. Solana and Ethereum and Uniswap, DeFi, smart contract platforms, Chainlink, which supplies the decentralized universe with data and information. All of these names have done well. The CoinDesk 20 index, which captures a lot of these things, which is our benchmark, is up 30% since the night before election. So it's been a breathy rally that we think has a lot of legs because, again, a lot of these technologies are new, and then many people don't know about them.
Given that, I wonder how you view the rally in altcoins, and is it potentially doing the opposite of what you're talking about, which is like this idea that the altcoins remind people of FTX, of this kind of schoolboy mentality in the crypto community, instead of, hey, look over here at Bitcoin, this is actually something the president's talking about.
No, I think that's a very good point, and it's important for investors to realize that once they get past Bitcoin, they have to learn a lot of new stuff. Ethereum works very differently from Bitcoin. So to the extent that starts to concern them, as if, I don't know, if Ethereum or Solana is going to be the primary layer one, it's too complicated, I don't want to token pick, go for an index investment, right? And a lot of investors around the world have taken in our CoinDesk 20 index in a variety of forms so they don't have to choose. It's like a QQQ of crypto. And that kind of alleviates concerns about individual tokens having issues. One of the things that we hope for is that in the United States, investors will have the same access to index investments, and that will be the first good defense against individual tokens having problems.
Andy, I don't know to what extent you can comment on the pricing here of Bitcoin, but we've had a lot of guests come on talk about 100,000 is in the cards. We had one guest come on talking about the fact that if everything falls into place, we could be talking about 200,000 in the not too distant future. How should investors be thinking about the trajectory here, how dramatic the climb has been, and maybe ultimately what that signals about how much more room there is to go?
For sure. So Bitcoin's, if you think of its return distribution, it tends to melt up, not melt down, right? And that is seen both in its options market, but also just in its return distribution. So these kind of melt up moments, which are usually categorized by news coming out and trend signals, tend to have legs, right? Again, the essence of trend, one of your earlier guests said this, is that more people find out about the same news and they get on, in stages, right? We have the 5%ers who, most of whom are not even engaged yet. So momentum can have legs. Our trend indicator is pointing to a significant uptrend. I think there's more good news to come out. Remember, we're still in an easing cycle from the Fed, and there's still concerns about inflation. Both of those things are positive for Bitcoin. So I don't necessarily think like another 20, 30, 40, 50% move is out of the cards. Bitcoin proves over and over again that it's totally capable of doing that, despite being a $1.5 trillion asset.
It's good to have both of those things happening at the same time, right? You're good
Totally.
if the Fed cuts, you're good if inflation stays high, a good place to be. Andy,
That's
thank
right.
you so much. Really appreciate it. Andy Bayer in studio with us. He is CoinDesk Indices Managing Director.